What do past economic downturns have to teach us now? And what does it have to do with the push of skills-based hiring? Today, we'll talk about that on Culture Builder Live. Hey, I'm Chris Wink, the CEO and co-founder of Technically, the news organization with a community of technologists and entrepreneurs. Slow to the trigger on our animation. I am joined today by Dan Finnigan. He's the CEO of Filtered.ai. It's a technical hiring platform we'll talk about, but also for our purposes, longtime CEO of Jobvite, CareerBuilder, HotJobs, a collection of mainstays of online hiring. Dan, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Dan. So you were leading that crew of influential online jobs platforms in the doldrums of the Great Recession. You know well the .com bubble. You might even say you're a student of economic history. I'm going to say that. So can you start me off? Talk a little bit about when you're looking back at multiple recessions, innovation, the like, any lessons that you're drawing when you look at whatever this moment is? And I can't say it enough. We don't necessarily know we're even going to have a recession because all of the economic signals are all over the place. So I'm not prognosticating, but curious, what lessons do you draw for today on the economic moment?
Well, I did say to the investors and founder of Filtered that whenever I join a company, a recession follows pretty soon. Whether that was Jobvite or HotJobs in both cases.
But, so you're like you have the inverted yield curve, and we have the Dan Finnigan become CEO predictions of recessions.
Well, it's not bad for me because you want to buy low and sell high. So I like that. But
got it.
In my experience, right now it looks like we have, for the first time in my history, though, two kinds of recessions happening at the same time. One is a venture-funded technology industry bubble bursting. Valuations were too high. You could argue blockchain may have been the prick that popped the bubble.
How intentional.
But nevertheless, here in Silicon Valley, without a doubt, the venture capital firms have decided to start their holidays early, and not a lot of activities going on investing in money-losing venture-funded companies. And I think those that have already gotten funding are going to struggle in future rounds. Now's a great time, by the way, to start a company brand new. Always is at a downturn in the tech industry. But there's a second downturn clearly, slowly emerging. It's almost impossible for it not to happen given rising interest rates. And as I've said to my team and others, the recessions are planned. It's almost self-fulfilling between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and it's happening this week, Everyone's adjusting their 2023 plan and back and figuring out how to do more with less.
Yeah. So now I think you had a few important points there. One, you were precise in saying venture-backed bubble bursting. Last employment number for November, again, tech jobs net gained for the year. They're up. So overall, tech jobs are growing. There are lots of economic signals that are strong. It was very much consumer technology, experimental, both startups and experimental divisions at existing teams. It was also redundant services like, as you called out, I shouldn't say redundant, but like the hiring machinery of large firms got culled when those firms were planning on doing less hiring. So we lost some core team building partners at technology. So that's a precise point you're making, that it's a certain kind of technology that's taken a real prominent hit, if not factually large in an economic sense, but prominent.
I'm not worried about the technology industry, nor am I worried about people who work in technology. All I'm saying is that venture-funded, money-losing early-stage companies have now are facing a reality where getting more money to fund the losses will be much more challenging. That said, I remember giving a talk at South by Southwest in Austin 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, saying that every company in every industry in the world is going to slowly become a tech company. And so I think now it's clearly obvious that most industries are technology industries. They all have moved chunks of their business to the cloud. They all have devices connected to the cloud where they track every parts of their business. They all have online on-ramps into their company for customers and for prospects. So now's the time in a slowing downturn, and they're working those 2023 budgets. They're cutting back what I'd call variable operating expenses, salespeople, customer success, unfortunately, recruiters, perhaps, but where they may be thinking about holding the line or maybe just cutting back on contingent labor is engineering.
Mm-hmm.
You tend to invest capital in improving your business, accelerating your digital transformation, if you will, at a time like this. And so I think there's going to be a lot of jobs for digital marketers, engineers, data scientists, AI, machine learning. And I think there's going to be a flight, just like we saw in 2008, a flight to safety from venture funded companies to larger companies investing in their digital transformation.
You embedded in there something I've heard Jim mention in use, flight to safety, that maybe those valuable engineers might change their own priorities when the economic circumstances.
Well, I mean, they get this offer and obviously they care about cash and bonus, but they've gotten a lot of equity in a company where when they ask the question, what is the valuation of our company? And they look at their equity and they think, oh my God, that's never going to work. Why don't I go to that company that has a public stock, which by the way has dropped? If you join a company after the stock has dropped because of a fear of a recession, it's inevitable over 4 years, almost inevitable, that the stock's going to go up. So that's why really smart, experienced engineers do tend to leave risky ventures for safer ones. That's what I mean by the flight to safety.
That is interesting that there's an additional negotiation happening for performance-based professionals when they can do their math that goes beyond base comp. It also includes where do I think this company's going to go net, which is interesting. So I'm going to lose you already in a few minutes. So I wanted to leave a chunk of our time to talk something that I'm interested in, skills-based hiring, that I know you're keen on, given what Filtered does. So let's turn a bit. Here's my beef. I view generally that a lot of our HR tech movements, a lot of our one-click apply job sites, I view generally some have created this environment where we're able to do less and less skills-based hiring. It's very much, how do I gamify getting around filters? So talk to me, make your case. You are the godfather of online technical hiring, they tell me, Dan. So like, the software, is it really helping or hurting skills-based hiring? Because I have a dog in this fight, but you have some thoughts too.
Oh my God, you just reminded me, in that last recession, I was still, or right before that last recession, when I was still CEO of HotJobs, the head of HR for Cisco at the time said to me, let me get this right. I give you money. I give you my job content. You allow anyone to apply with one click, and you spam me with unqualified people. So tell me why I should continue doing this.
Fair question.
It was a brilliant question. And I do think that, we did enable, and I think rightfully so. I mean, I don't want to go way back to the newspapers, but circling and highlighting newspaper ads and mailing, that was a pain. So I do think that the online job board industry has done a lot to make opportunities more accessible to lots of people. That said, when you post a job and you get a lot of applies from unqualified people, you're creating work and you're creating aggravation for engineering hiring managers who are trying to code and get the job done and don't have time to interview. So I think the pandemic can't be exaggerated as an impact on the labor market, the world of work, and how we hire and who we hire. And that's why I find Filtered exciting, because when you think about it, if you're going to hire someone who's going to sit right next to you in the office, you might be a little more lax on the qualifications, thinking, well, I can work with them help train them. They're sitting right next to me. By the way, I want to make sure that I want to sit next to them. So I spend a lot of time asking questions around culture and fit and the airport test. Would I be okay getting stuck at the airport with them? Well, all of a sudden, post-pandemic, the default is I'm not going to recruit people just around my office. I'm going to open it up. The globe's my talent pool now. And so therefore, I may never actually meet this person in person. And the question that then comes among hiring managers, and I think also recruiters, is, hey, can they actually do the job? And to the point you've made, there's a lot of ways for, a lot of people use these tests, little coding tests, multiple choice questions. A week and a half ago, ChatGPT proved that it can answer a lot of those questions. Yeah. And so therefore, I believe that skills-based hiring is the future. Can you really do the job? And if the job is in the cloud, how do you test that? Do the job, do the work. And that's why we've built job simulations, coding simulations, cloud simulations into our interview automation platform.
Tell me a bit, this all makes sense to me, and getting closer and closer to not a job interview, which is a performance, but a process of hiring that understands, can you do this job, seems like we all agree that's where we're trying to get, and we're just trying to balance the needs. Because one pushback that job seekers will have is, when is this company just putting a ton of work on me to apply? How are you guys at Filtered talking about balancing skills-based hiring that really is effective and not just unfair on either side? What's the right balance between getting insight versus overworking?
That's a great question, because even my son, who is a computer software engineer living in Philadelphia, complains about all the different tests, et cetera, taking. So the first and foremost is to make it truly a simulation of what the work they would do if they got to the company. I do believe candidates appreciate that, because quite frankly, they're sick and tired of the bait and switch interviews anyway. What's this job even like? What will I be doing? Well, if you've created a tight, efficient interview in which I am going to do what I would do on the first day of the job, it's like giving them the laptop they would use, configured to all the software and tools that they would use on the first day of the job. They appreciate that, because now I'm learning what the job would be like. And if you interview me live, it all ports over into a live room like we're in right now, and we can code together. So I do think I've heard from candidates, and we get really high ratings that are posted on the internet about their experience, that interview makes sense. That question makes sense. People who've been working for 4, 5, 6 years can't stand being asked multiple choice questions that they haven't been asked since they were in college. So the other thing is that you can't be, you've already brought up a very important point. You got to consider the candidate's time. And so therefore only only put in front of them the challenges that matter to the job. What's the most important skill that matters? And oh, by the way, we can provide certain simulations for people with certain backgrounds and different simulations for people with different backgrounds.
Dan, I could talk quite a bit longer, but we are at time. That's a quick look at Filtered and how skills-based hiring might shift. Big questions out there around what the 2023 economy holds for us. Dan, we'll have to have you back on. Thanks so much for the conversation.
It was really great meeting you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you guys next time. This has been CareerBuilder Live. See ya. Bye.